You know that feeling you get when you open a letter from your bank or maybe the hospital and your heart just, it spikes a little bit.
Oh, yeah. The fight or flight response to a manila envelope. I know it well.
Exactly. It's that little voice in your head that says, this system isn't really on my side. The rules of the game feel broken.
Well, it's not just a feeling. I think that's the scary part. We're doing a deep dive today into a piece of research called institutional trust in the age of AI. And honestly, the picture it paints is, it's pretty alarming.
Alarming is a good word for it because what we're talking about here is this, fundamental breakdown of trust in our big institutions.
Right.
And now into that bonfire of distrust, we're throwing this new accelerant, artificial intelligence.
Exactly. We're taking systems banks, courts, hospitals that are already at historic lows for public confidence.
The lowest since the 70s, I think the data said.
Right. And then we're layering this
Mm-hmm.
this opaque automated decision-making right on top.
It sounds like a complete recipe for disaster. But okay, before we get into the whole AI part of it, I want to talk about this idea of trust itself. Because the source defines institutional trust in a way that it really surprised me.
It's not a warm, fuzzy feeling.
No, they define it as a willingness to be vulnerable.
Yeah. That definition, it really hits you, doesn't it?
It does.
A willingness to be vulnerable.
It means you accept that this massive institution has power over your life. You can't watch it all the time.
You can't control it.
You can't. So you just have to believe, you have to trust that it won't use that power to hurt you.
That is a huge leap of faith. And to understand why we're making that leap less and less, the authors bring in Douglas North, the Nobel laureate.
Right, from back in 1990. North said institutions are basically the rules of the game in a society.
So institutional trust is really asking, do I believe this game is rigged?
Exactly. Or is the dealer playing fair?
Yeah.
And to figure that out, the research breaks trust down into these 3 key pillars. I think this is super helpful. Yeah, it gives you vocabulary for why you're so angry at your insurance company.
It really does. So the first one is just competence.
Simple enough. Can you do the job?
Can you do the job? If the hospital has the friendliest staff in the world, but they keep making mistakes in surgery, you don't trust them.
Competence is just the price of entry.
Totally. The second is integrity. Do you have principles? Do you stick to them even when it's hard?
Okay, so you're competent and you're honest.
But it's the third one. The third one is where I think everything is falling apart today.
Benevolence.
Benevolence. It asks a simple question. Do you actually care about my well-being? Or am I just a number on your spreadsheet? A means to an end.
But hold on, let me push back on that for a second. Do I need my bank to be benevolent? I just need them to hold my money safely. I don't need them to, care about me.
You don't need them to love you, no.
Yeah.
But you need to believe they aren't actively hoping you fail. If your bank is competent and it follows the law, so it has integrity, but its whole overdraft fee system is designed to trap you when you're most vulnerable,
Ah, okay. I see.
then it lacks benevolence. It's profiting from your mistakes, and that destroys trust just as fast as incompetence.
That's a great distinction. It's the difference between being a partner and being a predator.
Precisely. And the cost of this isn't just, a bad feeling. The authors make a really strong case that distrust is incredibly expensive.
For the whole economy, right? They talk about transaction costs.
Yeah, exactly. Think about it. If you and I trust each other, we can make a deal with a handshake. It's fast, it's cheap.
But if I don't trust you...
If you don't trust me, you need a 50-page contract. You need lawyers, you need auditors, you need all this infrastructure of verification.
It's like pouring sand in the gears of society. It just slows everything down.
It does. But there's another cost they mentioned that, for me, was even more powerful. They call it the vigilance tax.
I loved that term, the vigilance tax. It sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting. It's the mental energy you have to spend every single day because you assume every system is trying to trick you.
So you have to read every single line of the fine print. You have to check every item on your bill. You have to, record your customer service calls.
Yes. You're living in a state of constant low-grade defensive paranoia. And that has real biological consequences. It's a sustained stress response.
And the research actually connects that to worse health outcomes.
It does, because people just opt out. If you don't trust the benevolence of the healthcare system, maybe you don't fill the prescription, maybe you don't go to the doctor in the first place.
Because you think Big Pharma is just trying to get you hooked on something.
Exactly. So our distrust is literally making us sicker. And that is the world we're in before AI even enters the picture.
Right. So we have this stressed out, skeptical population, and we drop this incredibly powerful and frankly confusing technology right into the middle of it.
The great accelerant.
But this is the part where I get a little stuck. Because on the surface, shouldn't AI help? You know, humans are flawed, we're biased, a machine is just math. Shouldn't that make things fairer?
That's the promise, right?
Yeah.
Let's remove the messy human element. But the reality is what some researchers call the opacity problem, the black box.
Explain what that means. Because I think most of us assume that if an AI denies you a loan, there's a reason. Someone can explain it.
And that's the scary part. With a lot of modern AI, that's just not true. You feed in all this data, your income, where you live, what you buy online, and the machine says no. But the complex path it took to get there, even its own designers often can't fully explain it.
So we're swapping out a biased human. I can at least look in the eye for an impenetrable black box.
Correct. And let's just map that back to our 3 pillars. If the AI makes a mistake you can't explain, you've just damaged competence trust.
Okay, that makes sense.
But the real killer is integrity. Because if that AI was trained on, say, decades of historical loan data,
It's just learning the patterns in the past.
it's learning the patterns. And if those patterns include historical biases against certain neighborhoods or certain groups of people,
The AI learns to be biased.
it learns to be biased, and it launders that bias through the language of objective math. The bank can throw up its hands and say, hey, don't blame me, the algorithm made the call.
That shatters integrity. And I guess benevolence is just, it's a non-starter. A line of code can't be benevolent.
It can't. And that's the core conflict the paper points to, efficiency versus humanity. AI is built for efficiency. Benevolence requires empathy, judgment, context.
Things machines aren't good at.
Right. So if an algorithm denies your health insurance claim in half a second because you missed one checkbox on a form, that's incredibly efficient. But it feels utterly cruel. It feels like the system doesn't see you as a person.
Okay, so this is a pretty bleak situation we've described. But the reason we wanted to do this deep dive is that the source doesn't just stop there. It actually offers a playbook for how to fix this.
It does. It argues that AI doesn't have to destroy trust. If we're intentional, it could actually help rebuild it.
So let's get into that playbook. The first strategy they suggest is radical transparency. Now, my cynical side hears that, and I just think of, 100-page terms of service document nobody reads.
Right, transparency theater, as some call it. No, they are very clear this is not that. They advocate for plain language system descriptions.
Plain language, what a novel idea.
It really is. It means explaining what the algorithm does, what data it looks at, and just as importantly, what data it ignores, in simple terms. And they point to the city of Amsterdam as a real-world example.
I actually looked this up. They have an algorithm register online.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's fantastic. You can go on this public website and see every algorithm they use for city services, parking enforcement, social benefit claims. It's all there.
And it's not the code. It's an explanation. Here's the goal, here's the logic. It demystifies the whole thing.
It's like a nutritional label for government AI, and that leads right into their second point, which is about procedural justice.
Yeah, this comes from legal studies. The core idea is that people care as much about the fairness of the process as they do about the final outcome.
Even if I lose, I can accept it if I feel like I got a fair shot.
Exactly. And to make an AI process feel fair, you need 2 things. The first is what they call voice.
The ability to be heard.
Yes, you have to have a meaningful way to appeal to a human being. A way to say, the algorithm doesn't see the whole picture. Let me tell you my story.
Because if there's no appeal, if you're just stuck in that automated phone tree yelling representative into the void,
Then there is no procedural justice. And you are, by definition, breeding distrust. It's guaranteed.
Okay, so we have transparency and a fair process with a human appeal. What's the third strategy?
The third is capability building. This is aimed at the institutions themselves.
So this is about not just buying some off-the-shelf AI and plugging it in without understanding it.
Precisely. We just bought it from a vendor excuse doesn't work. The research says you need interdisciplinary governance teams.
Which is a fancy way of saying you can't just leave this to the tech department.
You can't. If you're a hospital, you need doctors, nurses, and ethicists in the room with the data scientists, all looking at the same system. You need the doctor to be able to say, hold on, that AI recommendation is clinically dangerous.
It's about bridging that gap between the technical tool and the actual human mission of the organization.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
can't outsource your responsibility. And that leads to this final layer of the playbook, which I found so powerful. It's the idea of the psychological contract.
Yeah, explain that. It's the unwritten rules, right?
It's all the unwritten expectations we have. When you go to a doctor, your psychological contract says, a trained professional will listen to my problem and apply their human judgment.
And if instead they just type your symptoms into a computer, read off the answer, and walk away?
The contract has been violated. Deeply. Even if the answer is correct, the relationship has been broken. The research says you have to explicitly renegotiate that contract with people.
You have to tell them up front how things are changing.
You have to frame it. We're using this AI to handle the paperwork so I can spend more time actually talking to you. Not, I'm being replaced by a robot.
That framing makes all the difference. Using AI to support humans, not replace them.
Which brings us to their last, most radical idea, distributed governance. And for this, they draw on Elinor Ostrom's work.
The Nobel winner who studied how communities manage shared resources like a forest or a fishery.
Right. She showed that you don't always need top-down control. Communities can govern themselves effectively if they help create the rules.
And the argument is we should apply that to algorithms.
Yes. That the people who will be affected by an AI system, the patients, the customers, the employees, should have a real say in how it's designed and what rules it follows.
That is a huge mind shift because right now, technology is something that is done to us, not with us.
Exactly. And that's why we get so much resistance. Ostrom's big insight was that if I help make the rules, I'm far more likely to trust the game.
Is that actually practical, though? Can you really have, a town hall meeting to design a credit scoring algorithm?
Maybe not a town hall, but you can have consumer advocacy groups stress testing it for bias. You can have frontline workers helping design the user interface. It takes more work up front,
Sure.
but it saves you from a catastrophic failure of trust down the line because these systems are never finished. They learn, they change, they drift. You need that constant feedback loop.
So, as we wrap up here, it feels like we're standing at this massive fork in the road. Trust is crumbling. This powerful new technology is here. It feels inevitable.
But I think the most important takeaway from the source material is that it's not inevitable. The outcome isn't predetermined. The link between AI and trust is a design choice.
And that's really the final thought for our listeners, isn't it? We get to choose.
We do. As a society and within our organizations, we can choose the black box or we can choose the Amsterdam model. We can optimize purely for efficiency, or we can choose to build systems that prioritize procedural justice and human dignity.
The question isn't, what will AI do to us?
No. The question is, how will we choose to use AI to treat each other? And the organizations that get that right are the ones that are going to thrive. The ones that get it wrong, well, that vigilance tax will eventually put them out of business.
An amazing deep dive. It's a heavy topic, but knowing there's a playbook, that there are concrete steps, makes it feel a little more manageable.
I agree. The antidote to the black box is understanding.
Well, thanks for walking us through it.
My pleasure.
We'll see you on the next one.